Everyone. How are you doing? I am doing fine. This is the Ruby Girl Talk with K Run and with B Jacqueline Jeter. How are you, Miss Jeter?
I am doing well, doing well. It's been a long
That
day, but I'm doing good.
that's great. You still here. That's all that matter. And we
All
are
that matters.
having a conversation tonight. And I know it's going to be a fantastic conversation because you are an excellent communicator. I love the way you talk. I love the way you just put words together. And you know, I love your voice. I think it is so proper and just so awesome. So thank you for taking the time tonight to come on and to just grace my viewers with your wisdom and your knowledge. I have to, wow, in such a presence of such an awesome, phenomenal woman as yourself. So,
Oh,
B.
thank you.
Jacqueline Jeter, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Like I said, it's been a long day. It's been a long week. Meaning last weekend, it's really Tuesday, but God is amazing. So, and He puts amazing people in your life to help you in, certain things. So it's been it's been a little long day, but it's good. Tired, but
Right. Great, great, great. So once again, if you just tuning in, my name is Karen. I am your favorite Ruby girl, and I am with one of my favorite Ruby girls, B Jacqueline. I love her name, B Jacqueline. You cannot forget her name. You could not forget her because me and her, we spoke together on the Shawn Fair Leadership Tour. That was awesome,
so
was it not?
awesome. It was so awesome. And Shawn Fair is amazing.
He is
He and his
totally
team are
amazing.
amazing.
Yes, it was to me, it was the best decision I know I have made. I would say this year. I would say in a long time, but for certainly this year, it was a great investment. I met so many wonderful people. We got connected to so many connections,
Right.
networking. I mean, for y'all out there that's thinking about going into the professional speaking arena, start with Shawn Fair Leadership Experience Tour. He will take you from the bottom. They're patient with you and they will give you everything that you need. So, be Jacqueline, what I want you to do, I want you to go on Facebook, find my page, find us, you'll see us, and share it with your people, with your audience, so that they can see you too tonight. I have it on public, so it should be an easy share for you. Okay.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'm just going to tell them about my business now. I am the owner of His Designs LLC, and I have my brand is Ruby Girl. Ruby Girl. And so Ruby Girl is all about women resetting their minds from victim to victor. It's all about that mindset change. You don't have to change your environment, but if you change your mindset, no matter if your environment change or not, your life will just be better. So I like to see women empowered. I like to see women inspired to go after what God has given them. So God gave me the vision of Ruby Girl based off Proverbs 31 and 10. So I'm just going to show you just one little thing that I do before we get started. But I invented the bra wallet. When I tell you, when you get up early in the morning, God would download ideas into you. And so he downloaded the Ruby Girl bra wallet. And so it's so easy, y'all. You just clip it to your shirt. Matter of fact, I think I got something in there. And you just put it in there and it just disappears. So don't worry about it. If you like, well, I have nothing up here, that's okay. It clips to your shirt, it lies flat, you good. Okay. So you don't have to be a certain size or anything. It does what it does. So you can always go to rubygirl.net to connect with me and also to shop for your Ruby Girl products. So now I am ready, Miss B Jacqueline, to get into this interview, to dig into it, and just hear about what you have to say to us tonight. I am so excited. We talked yesterday and you just inspired me with the things that you just said. So, B Jacqueline, as I said, you speak so well. I love your voice. So when you spoke during the Shawn Fair Leadership Tour, you shared that you had speech issues when you were growing up. Now, could you share with us how you overcame those issues? Because I'm quite sure it's somebody out there that's saying they can't speak because of this or because of that. But I want you to know that just because you see people up and speak, it don't mean they didn't have a journey to get like
Agree. Life is a journey in itself. And I did share at the Leadership Experience Tour that I still speak fast, but I spoke extremely, extremely fast when I was younger. And after going to several physicians and things like that, and my parents taking me to those, and my oldest sister took it upon herself to kind of sit down with me and kind of map out addressing these issues. And we took the tools that the physician had given us and apply which ones applied to me and were you able to use. But one thing she did do is she encouraged me and she gave me goals, and she put me in oratorical contest. And if you know what an oratorical contest is, rather than the word aura, meaning oracle, it's a speaking contest. And so someone who speaks extremely fast, she put those in the contest. And so in doing that, it helped me to really, I kind of spoke about this a little bit yesterday on another platform. It helped me to really find my leadership skills and be able to think more strategically as I look back over my life of how that kind of helped me. But I was afraid at first, but how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? We took things little bit by little bit by little bit and talked about the breathing and about just relaxing when you speak, because you're having a conversation. You don't want to get the robotic and be like, my name is Jacqueline Jeter, and you don't do that. So you were basically just having a conversation. And that's the same thing that Shawn and his team told us about, just being conversational when you speak and you're talking with people, not just to them. So a lot of the things that I did, we had goals to really think about what the issues are. I had to become aware that I had a speaking issue, because if I wasn't aware, then I would have still been speaking extremely fast, and I wouldn't be talking to you right now because I would have never met you, because I would have never been on the LET. So I had to do that. And then we had to, like I said, set micro goals and address those, and then implement them consistently. So we had awareness, goal setting, and then consistency. Because you can do something once or twice, but unless you do it consistently, it doesn't take place. It's not so much as changing a habit, it's embedding that actual routine into your life until it becomes integral to what you do every day.
Those tips that you gave, give those tips again, those that you just said.
Being aware.
Yes.
Create a plan or having goals, and then being consistent in those. And not just consistent, you have to also be intentional. And there's a little difference between intentionality and consistency. You can be consistently bad at something, but when you're intentional, I put my mind to do this, and then you put your mind to do it consistently every day. So,
those 3 tips are anything you do, and if you follow that guideline, you'll be successful at. You got to be consistent. The people that are great, like Les Brown didn't just speak one time and become the greatest speaker. He has a history of speaking, and this is what I like. You went into an Oracle contest. You didn't just go into something simple like I'm gonna go to a speech class or anything like that. You went into an Oracle contest where you had to compete against people that were good at what they did. I love the fact that your older sister saw this was a issue, and she wanted to grow you. You have to be around people that want to grow you, that people that are in your corner that's going to make you better. I say some people will enable you and some people will able you to be great. And your sister had your best interest at heart. So girl, you owe her. I know you give her a percentage of every time you speak, right? No.
Well, no, she's no longer with us, unfortunately, but I do celebrate her life because she was an educator and she was very impactful. And it was like, my parents were so much older when they had me. So she was older. She was like 15, 16 years older when I was born. And so I was kind of like a little baby to her, like a little baby doll or whatever to her. So that's how it was. So, but yeah, so she instilled a lot of things in me. And you're right, the circle is very important. People can able or enable you. Yes. I say people can make you better or they can make you bitter.
Yes. So yes. Yes. And you know what? When you get to the point where what people do, you get that tough skin to what, no matter if people do something for you or don't do something for you and it doesn't affect you, I think you in a good place. Because, I think about our governor here. And one thing she said during the pandemic, she said, I got tough skin. And she demonstrated that she had tough skin because you had to be tough to navigate a whole state through a pandemic and everybody against everything you say left, they like, we're going right, so when you get to that part right there, you got that tough skin. I think you got the greatest life skills ever. You ready for success, because success comes with people wanting to pull you back to where you want to, where they used to be or where they want you to be. But your sister was the best big sister ever.
Yes, yes.
Truly, she was. So we can see the fruit of her labor. Every time you get up to speak, is her in the audience just cheering you on, your great cloud of witness. She's the first one in that great cloud of witness. So now you are an author, a speaker, and a coach who has spoken on major stages. Now, you have even shared a virtual stage with Les Brown. That is my heart. My first motivational speaker I fell in love with was Les Brown.
Yeah.
So, what tips can you give us on how to reach the level of success that you have?
Just knowing who you are first. I think it goes back to that awareness piece and knowing who you are. God gives me quotes, and one quote he gave me was, if you're not growing, then nothing else you share is either, or nothing else you touch is either. And so a lot of people see and they want to see like the things and success that you have and things like that. And they're like, oh, I'm going to do what Karen's doing, or I'm going to do what B. Jacqueline's doing. But they don't know that the journey that's gotten us there, or the things that God has put in us to put us in that space. So the thing I would say is discover who you are and stay in that lane. Though I'm not trying to be like Les Brown. I learn from the tips and things he gives us. And I've learned from him and from Dr. Cheryl Wood and Shawn Fair, but I'm not trying to be them. We take, a lot of times we get confused with trying to emulate someone and imitate them instead of taking and gleaning the knowledge and the wisdom from them and learning from them. So the difference between learning and imitation. So taking those things and applying them. So when my sister took me through those, the things the doctors gave us, everything that they gave us wasn't for me. Every tool wasn't for me, but we used the ones that were applicable and were best for me. So use the tools that are applicable and best for you, that you glean from people like Les Brown and like Karen, because she taught me speaking. She did a phenomenal job at the Leadership Experience Tour. It was so powerful. And so make sure you're following her. So if you follow you, make sure you're following and become a Ruby girl. And so
I love that plug.
and get her merchandise, everything. I mean, you make sure you do that, because we're not here just because we have nothing else to do. A lot of times people think that, oh, they're their gifts and they're doing this for free. There's certain free elements to our business, but we have a business. And so there's a paid part. So you can be on the outer court in the free, or you can be on the inner court and invest in yourself. That's another whole plug. Anyway, so what you need to do as a speaker is to, one, discover who you are, know your voice. What is your voice? A lot of times people learn and what you've been through catapults you into a space of expertise. So find out what you're an expert at. There are a lot of people on the tour that we went through that had gone through a lot of trauma, and they used that trauma into triumph. And that God used that to launch them into a space of coaching or encouragement or being a motivational speaker or whatever. So know who you are. And that's the biggest thing. You have to know who you are. A lot of times we as women especially get lost in the mix. You're Bill's wife, Johnny's mother, Susie's whatever, and you almost don't have a name anymore. So one thing to do is to rediscover you. Yeah. And that's a big piece. So one, know who you are. Two, seek out the help and seek out the things you want to do. So one of the things I always tell people when they want to become a speaker is to join a speakers club. Toastmasters or something similar to that, that's local. There's a lot of chapters around, they're everywhere. One other thing, especially in the advent of social media, and it's getting, this is the way we are actually communicating now, because I'm in North Carolina and Karen's in Michigan.
Yes.
And so, but we're having this discussion, right? So you have the internet, but you also have these other elements in it with social media. So get on the Facebook Live. You don't have to be in there long. You do 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. People's mindset, their attention span is not that long anyway. So they don't want something that's 2 hours. So you don't have to get on and teach a whole class. Get on and share a nugget. Get on and just share, I'm at the gym and this is what's happening to me today. People want to know who you are. So you have to be visible. And that by getting in the space of social media and getting in the space of just being, as I said, social media and sharing something simple, you get visibility. How Shawn found me is I have a video log, encouragement video log. I'm also known as the encouragement ambassador. And so I have that, and he saw me speaking in that because I shared it to my page. I do it every Tuesday morning. He saw that, and he reached out to me, and I was, because I didn't know who Shawn was from a can of paint, So I'm thinking, how'd you get my name? But he saw that, and I've had several other people reach out to me because of that. So it's the visibility factor. If no one knows you exist, then no one knows you exist, and that's really quote unquote our fault in the space of social media. So do a 1 minute thing. My mentor is John Maxwell, because I'm a certified coach, trainer, and speaker with him under his platform. He does a thing called 1 minute with Maxwell. Now, if he can do it in 1 minute, we can too. And it has so much impact and power in it. So take out the fear of thinking you have to be on a Facebook Live or Instagram or Reels or whatever for forever. A minute can pack a lot of punch, and you don't know how people see that. And it also will help build your platform, your portfolio for speaking. Because if you want to get a speaking gig, so to speak, sometimes people, or most of the time, people are going to ask you, where have you spoken before, right? And they'll ask you for a video, audio, or whatever. And a Facebook Live can do that. And if you can have a Facebook Live that's 15 minutes or something you do for several minutes, you can take that and give it to somebody on Fiverr and ask them to make you a sizzle reel. So it's the simple stuff that gets you platformed as a speaker. But be the expert first. Discover who you are, discover your skill sets, and be authentic and be real, and just get visible.
I like what you said. Find yourself. So for many of us, like as women, we think our identity is tied in to care. Oh, I'm a wife, I care for my husband. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I care for my children. But we are somebody too. God just didn't make us for us to be absorbed into everybody else.
Right.
It's something for us to do. It's something out there that God has for us to do. We have gifts, we have talents. God just didn't put the mother gift or the wife gift. So we still have to stand before God, and God said, yeah, I know you was married, but I called you to speak. I called you to do this. And be Jacqueline, like you talked about, you had us, you talk fast. For me, I had a big fear of public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You could have gave me $1 million and said, I need you to stand up for 5 minutes and say something. And I would have just stood there and looked at everybody and probably cried. But how I got over it was that I started speaking. So if you have a fear, this is what I'm learning. If you got a fear, you have to just go into that fear. The more you just avoid it, it's the more that you deal, the more that it sticks with you. So thank you.
I say about fear is that fear is going to be there anyway. So you can drag it along with you and say, see what you tried to keep me from, it's not going to happen. And because it's going to be there anyway. So don't let it paralyze you. Let it push you and catapult you forward.
People say fear and faith doesn't exist together. I disagree, because that's why God tells us to be courageous, and courageous means to do. You feel that fear, but you still do it. Exactly. So yes, most of the time when you step out on faith, it's something big, and you're scared to do it. I mean, think about Noah when he had to build a boat. He didn't know anything about rain. Nobody ever did a boat, and he building this, and people looking at him like, man, what is you doing? What is rain? What? So he had to have some fear. He had to. I'm quite sure people were talking about him. His wife probably was looking at him cockeyed, but he did it.
Right.
He did it. He
and
proved them wrong.
And the manifestation came what God was preparing him for. And a lot of times when we're ultra fearful about something, there's such a big blessing on the other side of that. And I'm doing some self-talk right now. There's a big blessing on the other side of that we don't know of, and God really can't tell us about, because I look at our lives as a patchwork quilt. If you've ever seen a quilt and it has different patches, each patch lends to the warmth of that quilt, and each patch in our life, each experience in our life lends to the warmth of how our life is supposed to be. And so, like you said, no, it had never rained. Mm-hmm. There was water that came up from the ground that was irrigating things according to the Bible, but it never rained, never fallen from the sky. Mm-hmm. So first of all, he's doing this blind, like, this is crazy. And I'm sure his wife was like, I'm not leaving my mansion to be getting on a boat with animals, And so then he had to rustle up, so to speak, every species of animal and get 2 of them. So it wasn't just building the boat. When I thought about that, I'm like, he had to go and bring them in, because they probably didn't just come in willingly. We see pictures of them just watching to the boat, but I'm sure they were like not trying to stay together. And then you had animals that were probably preyed on. So it's so many different elements that we don't think about in that sense, but he still did it. And it wasn't just a small like rowboat. This was a gigantic ark that, with wood that was hard to, that I think I was reading, or someone was talking about the wood that he used, or what God told him to use, was not prevalent. So it was all these obstacles to that. And he's probably thinking, God, you know what? Are you fucking me? Is there a camera also with? But he did it.
And think about it, these people never stepped in a puddle of water.
Yeah.
So they never even got their feet like, wet, like jumped in a puddle or anything like that. And they're like, what are you doing? And just think about it, he did it by himself. I mean,
By
you
himself.
think today, all the equipment we have and everything like that, I can't build a boat by myself. I can't even build a canoe by myself.
I
So
can't build a Lego boat by myself.
So you think about the supernatural empowerment that God gave him. God is also going to do to us when we step out, and help us when we step out. And like you said, we do that thing that we really frightened of. That is the enemy trying to make it so fearful for you that you won't do it, because he know that's your breakthrough. He know that's your blessing. And for you, he knew that was your gift. Isn't that something, how people think your gift is always something you naturally do? Not always. Sometimes it's something that you have to struggle to get, and then you find out that's your gift.
A lot of times your gift is evidenced or born or brought forth through some kind of adversity or challenge.
That's true.
I think about one of the ladies who was on our tour, Latreia, and all the things she went through, and the things that she said that people said to her, and that's her superpower now. That's how God has used that. And so a lot of times it comes through our challenge, and it's not really dug out, because you don't really get to the jewels. If you've ever gone to those little mining things, they're not just sitting, you have to dig through, you got to shake that little tray, and then all the silt and all the other stuff that's not real falls away. But that takes a lot of agitation and whatnot to do so. So it's just God's, he moves in so miraculous ways, and we have to just roll with him.
Yes, we do.
His word never changes, his method does. So
I love that. That is so true. So we're about to go into our 60-second break. So those that are watching, I need you to hit like, give us some hearts. I need you to share this, because it's more than us that just need to hear this. So don't be selfish, y'all. Sharing is caring. I need some caring from y'all, okay? Y'all that are watching from B. Jacqueline Jeter's page, also share it with your friends. Share it with people that you know, pages that you are on, and everything. Let's get her exposure out there for her, okay? So she's going to do a 60-second pitch for us. So while she do that, I'm going to check and see if we got some comments, what people are saying, and if they're sharing. So B. Jacqueline Jeter, do your thing, girl.
I am B. Jacqueline Jeter, and I am a transformational growth strategist. And what that means is I equip women in their 40s or older to break through those limited mindsets that's kept them back from that brilliance, from that genius, from that space that God really created them for. And these are for women on the move, highly successful women, professional women who are really on the track to getting to that point, but they're in that messy middle, so to speak, and they can't really navigate it that well. I'm here to help you break through that. And how am I able to do that? Because I have been, and sometimes still are, that woman who has been highly successful in corporate and things like that, but had those moments where I know I'm supposed to be further, I'm supposed to be over here, or I want to be over here, but what's holding you back? What was holding me back were the things of I'm too old, or I'm not enough, or someone else may have done this, or someone else is better at me doing this. And I'm sure if you had those same thoughts, make sure you're reaching out to me on Facebook or IG at B. Jacqueline Jeter, or at the name of my business, Grow, Lead, and Prosper. And also you can reach me at www.growleadandprosper.com. That's my website. It's not active yet. It should be in the next week or so. So just make a note of that. And I would love to be able to work with you to help you break through these, so we can break through into greatness. Because guess what? It's time for you to unmask, unmute, and unleash.
I like that. Fantastic. Fantastic. I need you to do a commercial for me. You are fantastic. So, hey, everyone. I seen Tisha Marie. She was one of she spoke with us on the stage. We shared the stage together. She sent some love to us. So thank you so much, Tisha Marie. She is, I want to tell you, I met so many wonderful women. You know, the one thing I like about the tour, it felt like family.
Mhm.
It felt like family. And what really touched me about you is that when we were having a meeting, we was talking about who was getting a room, and you offered, if you need to change, you can come to my room. You didn't know me, COVID going on, all that, but you was generous with your heart. And so, and I saw that, and that's what really touched me. It was so many people there that was like, sis, I need you to win, sis, I support. Like, even we were going through rehearsal and people was messing up, nobody was laughing. We were supporting, we were encouraging, just everything. It was a great environment to grow. So we come into the second half of the show. Make sure you make note of everything that B. Jacqueline just told you. So we're going to talk about the subject of tonight, bitterness. So I'm big on definitions. I think if you define something, you understand it better. So bitterness is defined as anger and disappointment as being treated unfairly and resentment. So it could be something that has happened to your life or didn't happen that might have caused anger and bitterness to set in. Now, share with us what 1 ounce of bitterness can do to your soul, because you have a message for us, period, about bitterness. So go ahead and share your message. Be Jacqueline Jeter.
Well, bitterness. So I started talking about bitterness in 2019. And the reason for that is I was praying and I just kind of felt like my prayers, something was just was kind of off. I was like, God, what is it? What's blocking me? What did I feel like this kind of block, or my spidey senses were tingling? Something was off. And I said, what is it I'm dealing with? What usually when that happens, I'm like, it's something I've been dealing with, or I'm not seeing, or I'm not addressing, or I'm not aware, and the awareness I'm not aware of. And so he kept leading me to scriptures about bitterness. And I was like, bitterness? I'm not bitter. Like, are you sure, God? I mean, what is this about? And so he just kind of showed me this. And so I just said, just download to me. And I was writing and everything like that. And he was just showing me where I was bitter, because so I was born to older parents. My mom was 48, my dad was 52 when I was born. So, so I'm dealing with a lot of things. When I became 20, my mom passed right for my 21st birthday. And I'm thinking I need her the most. And then my dad passed several years later. But, when I have friends who are like doing this with their parents, like Mother's Day and Father's Day comes around, and my birthday's near Mother's Day, I used to be show more bitter actions, I guess, like, I hate Mother's Day, blah, blah, blah. And so even though I celebrate my sisters and stuff, that wasn't the same. And so I thought I had gotten past that. I started celebrating women in my life more, and women at church and mothers at church, stuff like that. But God showed me that I really that was a facade, and I really hadn't truly dealt with that. So bitterness can cause, we're usually bitter in 3 areas: with ourselves, with other people, and with God. And we don't really ever want to deal with that last piece. So my mom passed, I was really upset with that, because I'm like, I needed her. I was born to her later, and she had cancer. And so it's like, why did I have, why did she have to suffer, blah, blah, blah. And I was just really mad with God that he took her, because we were praying and so like that. And I'm like, she taught me about you and all these things. But a pastor came to our church, the church I went to at that time, and was talking about when a person makes their peace with God, you can pray all you want to, if they're ready to go, God's going to honor their wishes, not yours, basically. And so that freed me a lot in that sense. Because I literally, when I say mad with God, I was packing my books, my Bible in a box, and I was going to just move them out of the way, because I didn't want to deal with them, because I was really angry with them. And what happens with bitterness is a lot of times we have a disappointment and we don't deal with it. And then it festers, because it will come back up, because our mind will replay all that stuff. Why did I marry them? Why did I date them? Why did I do this? We start doing the why game with ourselves. And then we get bitter with ourselves. And then we don't trust ourselves to make decisions wisely in the next phase, or the next step, or the next place in our life. Then we get bitter with other people, because they're like, well, Karen didn't ask me to be on her show, and I was there, so things like that. There's always, I would have done the same thing for her. So we get kind of whatever. And then we get bitter with God. As I already gave an example for that. And an illustration I like to give is that one of my good friends when her child was small would go visit her, and she had this beautiful um uh, I'm trying to say beautiful, not cabinet, beautiful sitting area in her kitchen. And it was like this, she had always had this big bowl of fruit on it. So her son would come in and say, "Fruit, mama." And so she had, um, oranges and lemons and apples. And she would always pull out, she had these big, beautiful lemons. So that she lived like in California. And on her counter, she had this. And so she, could get them off the tree. So they were big, beautiful, just beautiful lemons. So she would cut the lemon up like an orange in the claws and give it to him. And he would be like, just eating it. And I mean, I'm puckering just thinking about it right now when you think about a lemon. And so I asked her, I said, "How does he do that? How does he eat a lemon? And he does, like that, like an orange." She goes, he's eaten them so long, the bitterness doesn't faze him anymore. And unfortunately, we have gotten to a point we deal with so much, the bitterness in our lives doesn't faze us anymore. And we shroud over and say, "Oh, she's just throwing shade. That's just how she is." Now she might be bitter. And so bitterness can affect our lives physically. I have a book, and I wish I could just show this on the screen. I can't because I don't have my slides up. But there's a thing called about different roots, because God tells us to be careful not to have any bitter root grow among you. He didn't just tell us that one time. It's told us in, I think it's Deuteronomy. Then he tells us again in, I think it's Hebrews, another time in the New Testament. So he says it more than one time, but he talks about bitterness a lot, and he warns against it because he knows how it can happen. So bitterness wraps around the roots of the goodness of the good of the fruit of the Spirit, and it chokes it out. And it's gradual. It doesn't happen all the time, but it'll pop out when you least expect it, and when you least want it to happen. And so it can come out in different ways. It can come out in rage. It leads to murder. It leads to physiological changes in our lives. When I started journaling and stuff about bitterness and stuff like that, and the things in my life, as God had directed me, and I have an actual workshop that you can go deeper in. We can go through those pieces and how he led me in that. But when I went through all of that, I have inflammation in my knees. My knees have always been kind of weird, but my knee pain basically went away. And that could be because a lot of times we harbor stuff. When you're stressed, you get all tense and everything like that. And people talk how it affects your body, and it releases endorphins, and your body is all out of whack with stuff like that. But bitterness does the same or even worse to our bodies. So it has a big manifestation of how it shows up in our lives, not just in our speech, in our actions, but physically, emotionally. I've been talking a little about generational bitterness, of how it's learned in a lot of ways, because maybe your mother didn't have a good experience with men. Now you think all men are bad. And it's because you learned that and you saw that in her life. So that bitterness towards men, or men of a certain hue or whatever, comes up. I even look at racism as being really bitterness that's out of control, because it has to do with those things. It comes from those things people don't understand, they don't want to confront, or somehow they were disappointed or upset, or they're envious. So it comes from a lot of areas, but it all leads down to one level of just really destruction.
And while you were talking, I thought about it. Unforgiveness
Unforgiveness
is
horrible.
tied into bitterness. That's
The
why
big
God,
four.
yes, that's why God tells us we have to be quick to forgive. And if you think about it, we think we're holding that person. Like, if I don't release them from this pain, I'm punishing them. But truly, they don't feel nothing. They sleep
They
good
don't
every
care.
night. It's not like you're their pain in the arm. Oh, Kay hasn't forgiven me. Oh, I feel it right here. So the only person you're affecting is you. And now that you see it, sometimes the things, when we go to the doctor and they can't figure out what's wrong with us, they do tests, but we got this pain, it could be linked to bitterness. And I shared a story with you about this lady that made a bitter root judgment. So y'all might not know what a bitter root judgment is. It's something that you make a judgment against somebody in bitterness, and it usually happened in your childhood. So she had her father was an alcoholic. The family had a whole lot of issues and stuff. So she made a bitter root judgment. She said, when I grow up, she said, I'm not gonna I'm not going to deal with a man like my father. I'm not going to be nothing like my fathers. She wasn't, but every man that she married, every man that she met would eventually turn into her father. Even if he never had he was like, baby, I don't drink. I ain't had a drink in years. But guess what would happen? He would eventually turn into an alcoholic. So she went through deliverance, and during deliverance, they found out that this bitter root had got up in her, and it was sending out, I guess you could say, vibes. That bitterness sent out vibes, and she was attracting the very thing that she had made a judgment against. But once she repented and forgave her father, the next man she met was a good man that didn't drink. So it's some things that, you know, how we feel like we're in a cycle. I keep meeting the same man. I keep having the same things happen to me. It might be tied to your bitter root judgment. You judged somebody. You looked at them in their situations when you were young. It might have been your parents. It could have been anybody, somebody that mistreated you. And you was like, I will never, I won't ever. You judged that person, and that judgment is still flowing and operating in your life. It's amazing. God tells us these things. We take it so lightly, but we don't know how it affects us. But God knows spiritually how things affect us physically and how they manifest in our lives. But
It's important about our words a lot. And
yes,
I want to share this. You talk about unforgiving spirit, and that's really one of the keys of dealing with bitterness is forgiveness. That's the big antidote to it. And I was doing some research about this before that I put in part of my workshop in my class. Is that Wearsby had this practical comment about bitterness, and he said that an unforgiving spirit is the devil's playground, and before long it becomes the Christian's battleground. So wherever you let the enemy play in your spirit and play in your heart regarding bitterness, it becomes your battle. It's not his battle anymore, it's yours. And then it talks about if somebody hurt us deliberately or unintentionally and we don't forgive them, then we begin to develop that bitterness, which hardens the heart. And then he went on to say that it says we're not actually hurting the person who hurt us, we're hurting ourselves. And then he said he said bitterness in the heart makes us treat others the way Satan treats them, when we should treat others the way God treats us. So when we have bitterness against somebody, we're actually becoming an agent or becoming like Satan.
Oh, that's deep. That's really deep. And as Christians, we got to understand our spirituality is so fragile. Like the world can go out and do anything they want to do, but when we do it, we're carriers of the Holy Spirit. So we taking the Holy Spirit into this mess and into this darkness. And the Holy Spirit is like, I don't like this. So the conviction come, and we don't feel like the unsaints, I put it like that, the unsaints feel. They go home, go to sleep, no conscience, whatever. But with us, it's something inside of us. It's like, that's not right, So we have to be careful that we keep our minds clean and our spirit clean. So that's why we have to be the one that's forgiven, the one that's like, how can you let that go? Be like, I have to let it go. Because if I don't, the enemy is going to get in. And like you said, it become our battleground. That was an excellent quote, Bijetta. Excellent. And so how does a person overcome bitterness? Give us at least 2 things that we can do to overcome, help us to overcome bitterness.
One thing, again, is forgiveness. It's really getting the right counsel to help take you through it. Again, it comes back to awareness. You got to be aware that you are bitter about something and face it. It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. So, because when God was showing me those things, I was like, I'm bitter about that too. Oh my God, I didn't know all this. Because you can have a beautiful mansion and open the door and it's beautiful inside and it's been clean, but there could be that one little spot in the basement in the corner that still has dirt or whatever, has whatever in it, and that makes the house is not clean then. So it's and it may be some of that's just too much to deal with, it's too much to handle, because no one can be, I'm asking, not saying about being perfect, I'm not, just really being clear with yourself, with yourself. I don't have to come and say, this is everything I've done, Karen. I mean, we confess our faults to each other, but we confess also first to God. So ask God to ask you to show you, and be prepared when he starts rolling the videotape, because it's not going to be pretty. So that's one thing. The other thing about is just, one thing that in this class that I kind of take people through is really journaling. There was a story told of this lady who was sick, and it had to do with another instance that happened in her life, and the doctor took her through a series of things, and one of them was journaling, and it helped with her situation. And I go deeper into that in my class. But so one of the things is getting the right, being aware and getting the right counsel. And a lot of times it's just really getting before God and asking him to show you, because it's not until you actually deal with who you are in that sense that you can deal with the bitter areas that you're then able to do something with them. And it maybe it's not a prescription that one thing fits all. So that's why I say get in front of the Lord, let him show you, and then you can kind of take it from there. Because you're bitter with yourself, you may need counseling. You don't know. Depending on the level of bitterness you have with yourself. Because some people have to go through counseling to get that off of them. And you get a good Christian counselor to do that. If you're bitter with somebody else, you may need to have a discussion. He may lead you to come to like reconciliation, have a discussion with them, because like you said before, people are going on with their lives. Someone might not know, Karen may not know, or I might not know that you have an issue with one of us.
Yes.
We don't know. And so if you come to me and say, I'm bitter with you about this, and this, I'm like, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Let's talk about it. Let's forgive. Let's work this out. Let's unpack it. It may not always end up in a, let's hold hands and keep moving forward type thing. It may end up, that's how you feel. That's fine. But at least you've dealt with it. So you cannot conquer what you won't confront. So you have to confront that you have bitterness in that sense.
And you're right.
Things.
You're right. I found out this year that somebody that I, they had some ought against me. And once she talked about it, I found out that it was the enemy at work. She was like, you didn't invite me to your party. I had her old number in my phone, and I text her about it, her old number. And then when I sent her an email, I think I sent it to the wrong ad. It was just a series of mistakes that made it look like that I was excluding her. But because of she's been rejected in the past by those around her, she thought I was doing the same thing. And so I tried, I was like, okay, let me start reaching out, getting close, but she wasn't responding. And so I had to back up. I had to just let it go. And I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. That was not my intention. It was just the little stuff. The enemy can take the little stuff and magnify it, especially if you're dealing with the spirit of rejection. But I don't have no anger, no ought against them. I understand how it happened because I've had to deal with the spirit of rejection, so I know how it operates. So B. Jacqueline, right quick, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. And then I'll come back and close out. So 2 minutes, tell us about yourself. I just thought about it. I was like, I didn't even have her introduce herself. So in your 2 minutes, tell us about yourself. Tell us what you're doing. You talked about your bitterness class, how they can get in that class. If you're offering again, just tell us whatever you want, your main points. You have 2 minutes. Go ahead, ma'am.
I talked a little bit about myself before, about my classes and that, about, what I do. So I have a day job, basically, or day career as a clinical development scientist. That's really kind of another passion of mine. My life in moving into this coaching phase was really built out of being let go from my dream job at a pharmaceutical company. And I thought, what am I going to do now? I mean, I'm going to be starting over. I'm right at 50. What's going on and what's going to happen? And I had women come to me and say, I know you have a plan. Help me map this plan out. Because they were really distraught. They didn't know what their next was going to be. So in doing that, I've created a blueprint, and I've created also a class, another class called Refresh, Renew, Reset. And that's going to be launching soon. Make sure you are following me on Facebook and Instagram. That's where it's going to be announced at. So that's going to be coming out in the next couple months. So it's not ready yet, but it'll be posted there. So please be sure you're following me there. The bitterness, I have a platform called Bitterness Breakers, and that is launched. We talk about that in the His Raindrops Facebook group. So make sure you join that. And it's HISREIGNDROPS. So that's that. So that's where you can find me. And those are 2 major classes I have coming up. And then there's also, I do a lot of things with mindset. And I think everything dovetails about the mindset. The bitterness dovetails about the mindset. And just what I went through with the Refresh, Renew, Reset is really key on mindset. But we unpack it in 12 weeks of first dealing with you, then dealing with your purpose, and then dealing with, and then going forward. So that's the reset part. But again, you can get those information to those classes by joining the group His Raindrops and follow me on Facebook and IG at Grow, Lead, and Prosper, or at B Jacqueline Jeter on those two entities.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. So if you're wondering how to get in contact, if you just forgot just that quick, just look in the posting section up above and you can see her information on how to follow her on Instagram and also how to follow her on Facebook. And like she said, her website is coming. Make note of it. What's your website again?
www.growleadandprosper.com.
So if y'all notice, she used prosperous words. She used words where you're growing, where you're enlarging yourself. So you can tell she's all about going forward and being better than what you were yesterday. And I love that, B. Jacqueline. I could tell you are an encourager. You know how to use those encouraging words. You know how to put them words together. And you know what I'm in awe about? When you say you're a scientist, I never met a scientist before. So now I can say I met a scientist. I know a scientist.
Yes,
So yeah, so thank you so much for coming on the Ruby Girl Talk. Thank you so much. I pray that your health get better
thank
and
you.
that everything in your life that you're stepping out to do, that God would just enlarge your territory, that he will put you in big rooms with big opportunities. And so you might be speaking virtually on stage with Les Brown and Sherwood, but God is going to place you on an actual stage with them. And I pray that they see your gift that's in you that you have cultivated. You had to cultivate your gifts. For some people, they just flow out naturally and everything. But like me, we had to cultivate, we had to fight to become the speakers that we are today. And you, as I say, is an excellent speaker. The fact that you are an author, can they find your books on Amazon? Give us just a few titles.
So I was in, I thought I had it right here beside me. So yes, I will post that in this feed as well. But you can get the book "You Are Enough." That's the book I am part of an anthology with Dr. Sherwood and Mr. Les Brown. I have oh God, there's several other. Endurance, Going the Distance, from the valley to the mountaintop. You can I'll post that link here because it's a long link for that, and that's where most of my books are in that platform. And I'll be posting in the next week or so the pre-sales for my own book called The ABCs of Transformational Growth, which will be launching later this year.
Great. So she's going to put all this in the comment section. So y'all just come back and y'all look. And like I say, share this. And so the replay will be coming up soon. So if you just coming in, that's fine. So every Tuesday at 8:30, I'm here with a fantastic, phenomenal, world-changing guests such as B. Jacqueline Jeter. And so before I leave, I just want to tell you what I've been up to. So if you want to join the Ruby Girl movement, first thing you got to do is get your t-shirt. You got to go to rubygirl.net, get your t-shirt based on Proverbs 31:10, which makes you a priceless princess. Go order your t-shirt. rubygirl.net. Every Thursday is Ruby Girl Day. Hey. And so on Ruby Girl Day, you can get 15% off your purchase. You can go get your bra wallet, get your shirt, get 15% off your purchase. So on Ruby Girl Day, I need y'all to put on these t-shirts, take them selfies, use the hashtag Ruby Girl Day and tag me in that post, because there's a contest coming up where you're going to be able to win, guess what, a Ruby Girl bag. So this time I want to make sure I do it right. I had it all upside down last week. So you're able to win this Ruby Girl bag. So every Thursday I put something in this bag, something that people have donated, something that I have purchased. And so the Ruby Girl in 2021 will be able to win this bag. So this bag right now is available at passionfit.com designed this bag, but this is the only one Ruby Girl right here, so you can win this bag. But pretty soon it's going to be on my website where you can order it from me, the Ruby Girl bag. When I tell you, I took this bag with me when I was on the Shawn Leadership Tour, so you can put your yoga mat, you got where you can put your shoes here, your wet items, and pockets. B. Jacqueline, this thing, you know, women like pockets because we like to put this here, put this here. I mean, you got your cell phone, you even got a place for you to put your drink bottle, all that. It's actually a workout bag, but it's a travel bag too. I ain't working out, y'all, but I travel with this. And when I tell you, it has room for everything. So it put me on mute.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? So, all right, I want to thank everybody. And remember, Ruby Girl Day is on Thursday. So when Thursday come, I'm going to start giving you more information about the contest because I'm looking for that Ruby Girl of 2021. Be Jacqueline.
Yes.
It could be you.
Mhm.
It could be you, or it could be anybody out there that's watching. So thank you for tuning in to the Ruby Girl chat tonight. I want to thank you so much, B. Jacqueline, from the bottom of my heart for your generous heart and the kindness that you have shown towards your favorite Ruby Girl. And that makes you my favorite Ruby Girl. So I will be back next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Facebook Live. Y'all have a wonderful and awesome week. And you also be Jacqueline Jeter. You have an awesome and wonderful night. And thank you once again.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.